Record it. Okay, we are recording.
All right. I want everybody to listen up real clearly here. That was the call to order using
Yes.
this mallet, which is having, there you go. This is a mallet that was presented to J.P. Holbrook in May of 1920. J.P. Holbrook was the first president of our club. And due to some very good stewardship on the part of Pat Phillips, we have this mallet, which you now see on the screen. So notice also, it says apply when needed. Apparently, some of the meetings must have gotten a little rowdy, but anyway, here we go. We're delighted to have everybody here today. We are awaiting Mayor Buddy Dyer, who will be joining us at 12:05. And I just wanted to make sure we have enough time to have him join us, since he's on a very tight schedule. So we will just wait a little bit. We'll wait a little bit until the mayor joins us, and then we will begin our meeting. Rich, could you take the picture down?
Oh, sorry. Sure.
There you go. I wanted to get the full screen back.
We do have some dignitaries on, and from the district, and
Yeah,
and
we'll be introducing them as we go along.
okay. I'm going to make that presentation speech one more time. Everybody is muted, so if anybody wants to speak, push the space bar down on your computer, and that will unmute you for the period of time. Just hold it down, and then when you let up, then you'll be muted again. Okay?
I see Doug Richards has joined us in the mayor's office. Doug, is the mayor with us yet?
Hey, Bill, doesn't seem like it yet.
Okay, well, we will stand by and wait for his arrival, and if you would just let us know he's with us, okay?
There he is.
Okay, the mayor is with us. Mr. Mayor, we're delighted that you're with us. Thank you for taking some time. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Bill. I think we're all a lot more technically proficient than we were about 2 months ago in terms of Zoom meetings and all things remote. So I'm pleased to be with you, and I'm actually pleased to celebrate the 100-year anniversary of Rotary Club here in Orlando. It's certainly one of those ones that you guys will remember, not just for being the 100, but for being in a virtual mode. And I'm happy to see that you guys are able to keep meeting on a weekly basis. I'm also proud of our community and how everybody's responded. 4 weeks ago, our hospital systems were telling us that they would need potentially 2,000 to 5,000 additional beds because they thought they'd be overrun during the surge of the COVID-19. And because our community has responded to the stay-at-home orders, the social distancing, the wearing masks, the washing our hands, we've really been able to control that. And now we're in a phased approach to reopening our community. With that, I do know that there are 3 Rotarians that are city employees that may be on the call today, and that's Lisa Henry, John Perone, and Chris Wallace. If you guys are there, thank you for all you're doing as a city employee to make sure our city continues to run. And Bill, if you guys are ready, I'll go ahead and read the proclamation.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, give me a second. I gotta pull it up. Here we go.
Okay, whereas the Rotary Club of Orlando, the oldest and largest civic service club in the city beautiful, was founded on May 12th, 1920. And whereas in the 10 decades since, the club and its Rotarians have been committed to serving our community, our nation, and the world. And whereas the foundation of the club's activity is its 5 avenues of service: club, vocational, community, international, and youth service. And whereas since its inception, the club has helped young residents thrive through its support of Orange County Public Schools, literary activities, food pantry contributions, and holiday gift programs. And whereas the club and its foundation annually distribute financial grants to local organizations serving the health, humanitarian, and educational needs of the community, including Rotary International's partnership with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to eradicate polio worldwide. And whereas while demonstrating its belief in the Rotary International motto of service above self, the club and its foundation have provided innumerable other service projects that have benefited our community. And whereas the city of Orlando and our residents are grateful for the Rotary Club of Orlando's 100 years of service, and thank the club and its Rotarians for their compassionate role in building a stronger community. Now, therefore, I, Buddy Dyer, Mayor of the City of Orlando, hereby do proclaim May 12th, 2020 as the Rotary Club of Orlando 100th Anniversary Day in the City of Orlando.
Mr. Mayor,
Congratulations.
thank you very much. Thank you for being with us, and thank you for the honor of the proclamation. And thank you for your leadership during these trying days. I'm sure you've had more on your plate than you wish you had, and we're most grateful for your leadership.
I appreciate that, Bill, but you know, we always seem to rise to the occasion here, whether it's responding to hurricanes or mass tragedies or now a pandemic. People in Orlando just show exceptional courage and wisdom as we make our way through this. Hey, are you guys all eating the same thing virtually?
I don't think so. Mr. Mayor, we have 114 Rotarians on this Zoom call, and we have a former member who's now in the UK, and we have a guest from Brazil on the call, from Brazil. So we're getting wide coverage and experiencing a great time seeing a lot of past members of the club. So I know you have a very busy schedule.
Yeah, I'm going to take off, but I guess one thing being virtual, it allows, makes it easier wherever you are to access the meeting.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Again, our sincere thanks for being with us and for the proclamation. And
all right. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Let us move forward and officially start our meeting. I'd like to call on the Reverend Michael Aitchison to provide an invocation. Michael.
Shall we join our hearts in prayer? Our great God and King, we thank you for your goodness and mercy in preserving us, especially amidst this historic hardship of the coronavirus. We further thank you for your faithfulness in preserving our club for 100 years in its mission of service above self. And while our plans to convene in greater proximity for celebration have been altered, we trust your good providence in ordering the affairs of history, and our hearts are grateful to even see each other virtually. And Father, amidst our joy today, we are mindful to plead your mercy on those who are suffering in many ways for various reasons, in our presence and around the world, especially amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. And Father, we also plead your mercy over our fellow Rotarian, Joe Nouse, his wife, and their premature son, Carter, as he fights for his life in the hospital. Lord, please have mercy on Carter. And Father, today, would you bless our meeting for your glory and our good? And even beyond today, would you preserve our club that we might continue our mission in doing good to all people till the close of the age? In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen, Michael. Thank you very much. And those of you who may not know, Joe and Tara Noss had their son Carter very prematurely. He's been in Winnie Palmer Hospital for some 20 plus days now, I believe. And if you would care to send them a message, they have a site called caringbridge.org. And you can go to caringbridge.org/visit/Carter Noss, and you can leave a message for them, and you can read their very touching diary of what they're going through. So please be cognizant of their plight. With that, I'd like to ask Rich Ongaro to provide our patriotic music.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Now, if you would please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. Hey, Rich, thank you for the technological marvel. I really appreciate it. We have several guests who I'd like to introduce. And first of all, I understand that Rotary Director David Stovall was joining us. I have not seen him. Mr. Director, if you are with us, would you let us know? Don't forget to unmute. Don't forget to unmute if you're with us.
For those of you that are on, everybody is muted, and if you want to say anything, just hold down the space bar on your computer and that will unmute you. And then when you're done, just let up on the space bar and then you'll be muted again.
All right. Thank you, Rich. Okay, I'm sorry the director isn't with us. Hopefully if he joins us, we can acknowledge his presence. We also have District Governor Cindy Sioji with us. Madam District Governor, would you like to offer any words?
Absolutely. First, I want to say congratulations, 100 years. And if it wasn't for your club, we wouldn't be here. It was in 1927 on May 24th that your club chartered my club, the Rotary Club of Apopka. And I thank you for that. And all that you have done in Orlando and through the world because of your generosity. Our longest serving Rotarian would have had 62 years of perfect attendance in June, and he passed away last week. It was Mayor Nelson's father, Earl, and he was a Rotarian through and through, and he loved Rotary. So because of Earl and the Rotary Club of Apopka, our sincere thanks to you, the Rotary Club of Orlando. And I have a special presentation for you from Rotary International, honoring 100 years of membership. The Rotary Club of Orlando, Florida, USA, admitted May in 1920. In recognition of your dedication to the object of Rotary and its commitment to the ideal of service, signed Mark Maloney, and I will make sure that you get this. And it's my pleasure to be able to present it to you. Thank you.
Cindy, thank you so much for that. Thank you for being with us. We're delighted you're with us. Let me also acknowledge our Assistant District Governor, Kathleen Peters, who's with us today as well. We're delighted you're with us, Kathleen. There are also some district governors that we should acknowledge, and hopefully if I overlook anybody, it's only because we didn't know you were on the call, and my apologies, and I hope you'll introduce yourself after I acknowledge, first of all, as I get my head together, Denny Carrere. I'm not sure Denny is with us today, and we offer our condolences to Denny, whose brother recently passed away from the coronavirus. So our sympathies to Denny. Also, Ed Baranowski is with us, and of course our own George Huffman is with us. So we welcome our past district governors. Are there any other district governors or Rotary officials who might be with us that we are not aware of? If so, we'd love to hear from you.
I see Art Brown.
David Applebaum here.
And Dave Alphabom. Hey, David, how are you?
Congratulations from Art.
Thank you.
Is Art? Rich Shirley Range is also on, AJ Range's wife.
Hey, Denny, we're glad you're with us.
Took me 20 minutes to get on.
Wow. Okay. Any other officials that we should acknowledge?
This is
And Mike
Ron
Vernon.
Jansen. It took me about 20 minutes to get on too, Denny, so you're not alone.
Hi, Ron. So nice to have you with us.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. We have several of our club past presidents on the call. Many of I would be remiss if I tried to name them all because I would miss them, but to all of our past club presidents who have really led the way to help today become reality, thank you for your service to this club over the years. Many years of service and leadership. So our appreciation to all of you. With that, we're going to move right into our program, and I'm very grateful to George Huffman, who has taken the lead in putting together a quick history of our club, and he will be joined by several other members of the club. So with that, again, my thanks to George, and I'm going to turn the program over to him.
Thank you, Bill. It's good to see all of you. Can you see me on the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. It's good to see so many familiar faces that I haven't seen for a while. And it's Bob and Marty and some others. Dorsa, my goodness, it's good to see you all. I'm glad you're with us today. We're going to talk about the history of the club. You know, we can't cover the whole history of the club. We'll do the best we can to hit some of the highlights today. The things that I think made the club what it is today, its heritage, the service to the community, and some of the great leaders we had in the community who were Rotarians. You know, when the city was, when we joined Rotary in 1920 as a club, it was a lot different then, as you can imagine. There were 9,000 residents in the city of Orlando, 19,000 total.
Hey, George, we lost your image or we lost your sound.
You can imagine what kind of community we had then. It was. Say what?
We lost your sound.
I've got my finger on the.
Well, why don't you just unmute yourself and don't do your space bar. Just unmute yourself.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Okay.
That's
So,
better.
I don't know how much of that you heard. I won't repeat it unless you want me to.
Now, we heard about what the population was in Orlando.
Okay, population was 9,000. The county was 19,000 total. There were two 5-story buildings, 5 churches, 3 banks, 33 miles of paved streets, and a whopping 72 miles of brick streets at the time. It was just an agricultural town. It was, in fact, on a lot of maps, it didn't even show up on national maps, whereas Jacksonville and Tampa and other places would. It was called Mosquito County up until a couple of decades before, and obviously that wasn't really good for bringing northern tourists down here or future residents, so it was changed to Orange County, which was obviously a much better reflection of what was going on here, since citrus was the big industry at the time. To give you an idea of what the 1920s were going to be looking like, we just finished World War I. We just had a big worldwide flu epidemic. People were anxious to get out of those surroundings and get back to life. So the Roaring 20s began, and that's when the club actually started in May 1920. To give you an idea of what was happening in Orlando, it was starting to be discovered as a place to go in the winter, and there were 150 real estate agents, considering that as the upcoming industry. Today, I want to show you a little bit of our history and introduce you to some people. So I'm going to put something on the screen. Here's our charter that was signed by the president at the time, Albert Adams, Rotary International, and we were part of the International Association of Rotary Clubs. That was before it became Rotary International. You'll notice it was signed May 1st. We actually started officially on the 12th at the Angiebilt Hotel at the big reception, big party. I will say this, that think about the conditions of the state at that time. The highways really weren't great. Most were still 2 lanes by a long shot. They were even that. Some were even brick. So you can imagine we had delegations to welcome our club from the Rotary clubs of Jacksonville, Tampa, Ocala, Palatka, and Gainesville. You can imagine what kind of a journey that would have been in those days, but they all showed up at our club with delegations, and I thought that was quite a tribute to Rotary and Rotarians. I'll show you another picture here in a moment, and if I can get it up on the screen. Here we go. I lost it just a second. My capabilities are fantastic, except doing graphics. Apparently I've lost that one. The Rotary Club had 16 members when it joined. And among those members were our president, J.P. Holbrook. His son, Jesse, was in our club for a number of years. In fact, he was still a member when I was in the club, when I joined. J.P. was the first president. The second president was S. Kendrick Guernsey, and that was in 1921. He was quite a leader in the community, and in 1947, he became president of Rotary International. Also in the club at that time was Don Cheney, and we'll hear more about him in a few minutes. These were great Rotarians, great community leaders, people that were respected and helped Rotary gain its reputation as being a major community operation. Are you able to see me still on the screen?
I can on the side.
We're still seeing the certificate, George. Do you want me to take over and I'll show you the visuals?
Yeah, do that,
Okay.
because I've lost that screen. Thank you.
Okay.
There you go. That's the one I want to show you. Well, we got, there we go. On this picture, let me show you. The gentleman fourth from the left, kneeling on the front row, is our first president, and J.P. Phillips. Thank you for the arrow. And then the upper right corner, up here is Kendrick Guernsey, and he was our second president. Truly a great Rotarian and a great individual. He was here for about 20 years in the club, then he moved on for a big career move and later became president of Rotary International. Next to him is Don Cheney, and we'll hear more about him as a great community leader, a great Rotarian. There's so many we could talk about in this picture, but that wasn't the purpose today, to talk just about individuals, all the club founders, but just some of them that we want to bring to your attention. So if we can get that one off the screen, there's one more picture I want to show you, and that's of Paul Harris, who was the founder of Rotary. If we can get that up, Rich, maybe I can, for some reason, yeah. There's Paul Harris on the left, obviously, and Johnny Graham, who was our president at the time in 1937. Paul Harris would come to Central Florida on several occasions, liked to go to Claremont and had good friends up in Eustis, and would come to the Rotary Club of Orlando occasionally. Here he is at Lake Eola planting a tree, and the young man in the picture is there because his name just happens to be Paul Harris. I don't know the rest of the history of that particular picture. If I can get myself back on the screen, I'll just continue then with some remarks about the times. The times were indeed changing. We went through, in the next few decades, we went through the roaring 20s, where growth in Orlando started booming. Then we went through a major depression. Then we went through World War II, and then the boom years beyond. I want to have some of this told to you by two of our Rotarians who've been in the club for decades, and their father, Paul Stein, was president of the Rotary Club in 1946. So first I'm going to call on Joe Stein, who wants to tell you a little bit about some of the movers and shakers in the community who were Rotarians. And I mentioned a couple of them. So Joe, if I could ask you to give some remarks about the history of the club as you see it. There you go.
The Orlando Rotary members have made a big impact on our community, as we most know. I cannot talk about all of them, but here are 5 who I have known and worked with personally. A member did not have to be president to make an impact. Charter member Donald Cheney was never president, but his support of the youth of our community shows up today, not just to help the good kids, but maybe more importantly, those kids who might go astray. Don was the inspiration that brought Boy Scouts to Central Florida and continued to work with scouting until his death. Our Rotary Club and others in Central Florida built the dining hall at Camp Weewall for the Boy Scouts before the Y bought the camp from Boy Scouts. Later, when the Boy Scouts bought Camp Lenoche at Lake Norris, our club and others built the first dining hall there. Don helped secure Camp Lenoche, which is named after him, La-No-Chi, Lake Norris Cheney. Don also felt that juvenile delinquents should have a separate, more compassionate court to deal with them. He led the effort to establish the juvenile court in Orange County. Then he was appointed its first judge. The Cheney family built the first electric and water utilities for Orlando. And Don told me of the early days when he went to supervise the purchase of lighter wood to fire the boiler to generate electricity. People complain about smoke from coal today. How about smoke from fat pine wood? Our Rotary Club led the effort for the city of Orlando to buy these utilities from the Cheney family. And of course, today we know that is the Orlando Utilities Commission. You think that bringing I-4 to Orlando was a first great effort to improve highways? We already had north and south highways in the 40s, but no east-west highways. Harry Lou was a big promoter of State Road 50. Even in my time, West Colonial crossed Kentucky Avenue, now we call it Orange Blossom Trail, and dead-ended into Tampa Avenue. Thanks to Harry Lou and others, we can drive from the Atlantic to the Gulf. Oh, of course, we remember Harry Lou for his gift of community gardens to the city of Orlando. Harry P. Lou Gardens contain the largest collection of camellias in eastern United States. With regard to I-4, though, our member Billy Dial had great influence on its location through Orlando. In 1945, a great program to improve and keep good race relations in Orlando was created and carried through by Rotarian Johnny Graham and a select committee from our club. Johnny owned and operated Stewart Mellon Towel Company in Orlando. One of his black helpers returned from World War II and could not find a decent home for his family. He asked his boss, John Graham, what he could do. John checked into places where the blacks could live and found nothing satisfactory. John brought that matter before the Rotary Club of Orlando, and they approved the idea of taking action to alleviate the situation. The result was the founding of a nonprofit corporation, the first of its kind in the United States, and solicited community members to put up the money to buy the land and develop a subdivision where blacks could build their own homes. We know that project as Washington Shores. The project received national recognition and was duplicated by a number of other cities. John saw the project through to completion without profit except for the satisfaction of having done something for his employee and other blacks in Orlando. The last lot was sold in 1964. How did you learn to drive a car? I learned in the woods driving a Model A Ford with stick shifts and a clutch. But that was not a real possibility for our city kids in 1953. Our president, Dr. Frank Powell, through the Community Service Committee, started driver's training education programs at Edgewater and Boone High Schools. A car was lent by a local dealer. Instructors were trained and paid from funds raised by this club. Through the efforts of Dr. Powell and Dick Lawrence, a bill was pushed through the state legislature to make driver's education available to high schools all over the state. The Rotary Club of Orlando has made a difference in our community in many ways through its members. When they saw a need, they responded and provided a solution. And I'm proud to have been a member of this Rotary Club for over 50 years. Proud of all you Rotarians too. Thanks for everything you do to make our community a better community.
Okay, George.
All right, John Stein, I've asked to make some remarks as well. John, if you'd proceed and let us know what you have uncovered about our history.
Thank you, Joe, for covering just a few of our strong-willed Rotarians who helped implement some of the important organizations or products that had made such an impact on our community. All of us in the room today, online today, have profited from one or more of these efforts. Unfortunately, we don't have time to cover everyone, but let me see if I can share a few more of those leaders. One of our founders was Newt Yowell, president in 1924 and 25. At 23, this young entrepreneur built the then largest building in downtown at the corner of Orange and Central, the Yowell Duckworth department store. He also started Yowell's Young Presbyters and taught it for 47 years at the First Presbyterian Church. The class still continuing to this day. But during his term, he petitioned the city for a 1 mil tax to build a public library, and subsequently he prompted a Captain Albertson to donate 12,000 books to our new public library, Albertson Public Library, the forerunner of the Orange County library system. In 1926, funds were raised to build a YMCA building, but in 1929, the economy failed and Newt stepped in and rescued the project. One of many Rotarians that have proved instrumental to the growth of the local YMCA. A point of trivia, past to present. Bob Blackford, our president in 1992, is the grandson of Newt, the only such grandparent relationship in our club. In 1961, a group of dedicated business leaders formed the Central Florida Development Committee to ensure the orderly growth of Central Florida by seeking new businesses and improvements to our area. The effort was guided by Ed Ewell, a Rotarian and general manager of the Martin Company. He enlisted Bill McCree, Dick Lawrence, Paul Stein, Linton Allen, Harry P. Lew, and Bob Robertson, all Rotarians. The Central Florida Development Committee was to be involved in numerous improvements to our area: a county-wide water control system, a new university, Florida Technological University, now University of Central Florida, the Orange County Expressway Authority, East Central Florida Regional Planning Council, and many more. The Central Florida Development Committee was led by Rotarians for the first 3 years. As members of the community joined the committee, Rotarians continued to play an important role in its mission until the committee was absorbed into its successor, the Industrial Development Commission of Mid-Florida, in 1976. In fact, I was a member of the Central Florida Development Committee when this occurred and served one term on the new commission. 1961 was a very busy year for Orlando Rotarians. Howard Phillips of our club introduced the idea of junior achievement, and it was quickly supported by Orlando Rotarians G.T. Willie, Linton Allen, Jim Keefe, Paul Stein, Paul Pankey, Ernie Gertner, and Joe Stein. Junior Achievement started as an after-school program to encourage the ideals of free enterprise and entrepreneurship for senior high students. During the 70s and 80s, Junior Achievement developed a curriculum taught by businessmen and women for grades K through 12, promoting free enterprise. Since JA began, tens of thousands of local students have gone through these classes, and today many owners and employees have benefited from the Junior Achievement programs. Our club has continued to provide financial support through our foundation and has provided many board members as well as 4 presidents: G.T. Willie, Ernie Gertner, John Stein, and Pat Knipe. Our early founders and members did not have a lock on helping our community. Howard Chadwick, the senior pastor at the Presbyterian Church and our president in 1980-81, was responsible for spearheading and filing a request to form the Rotary Club of Orlando Foundation for the purpose of providing scholarship aid to local students, relief from hunger, and humanitarian aid to the needy. Although it took 3 years for the 501c3 status to be granted, it has proved invaluable to our club in fundraising. Since those first grants in 1985, we have provided funds to many organizations like Boy Scouts, Junior Achievement, YMCA, Camp Thunderbird, House of Hope, Grace Medical Home, and college scholarships for students. But Howard had not finished his year or his goal, because he proceeded to start the Christian Service Center. Howard championed the Daily Bread program, which has been a free, nourishing noontime meal for families and individuals in the community 6 days a week for the most at-risk populations. Howard was also known for his wonderful baritone voice, and on many occasions he would sing "How Great Thou Art" to a spellbound Rotary luncheon meeting. But our club has also been supportive of the Rotary District since its founding in 1920. Many of our members have served on district committees, and we are proud to have provided 9 district governors: Ken Guernsey, Paul Stein, James Keefe, Bob Neal, Bucky Allen, Gene Mignata, Ed Baranowski, George Huffman, and Denny Carrera. Now, if you need to learn more about the history, you can go to our website. On the top menu, choose Our Club, and then look for Club History, and then select whichever item you want for that first 75 years. But soon you will be able to observe and read the last 25 years edition. It has been written, and Jim Stowers is hard at work on completing it. You know, I'm proud to have been a Rotarian, just as my brother, for over 50 years. It is great working with all you, And in this day and time, with our projects to the community, I want to thank you for your personal effort in making Rotary service above self. Thank you.
Thanks, John, and thank you, Joe, for outstanding research and great presentations. In more recent years, we wanted to call attention to a couple of things that happened in the memory of some of our current members, not too distant past. And I've asked Ed Baranowski to join us. I don't believe Ed is on. Is Ed on? He said he was going to have trouble getting on today because he was having computer problems at his home. So I want to say a little, yeah.
He's on.
I'm
He's
on.
Ed, great. Ed tell us a little bit about your background. You came down here from up in the north and worked with Orlando Naval Credit Union. And tell us a little bit about that before we go into the other.
Okay, very quickly, I came from the University of Wisconsin and managed the credit union there. And then I came to Navy Orlando Federal Credit Union, managed that for 20 years. Now you know it as Fairwinds, and you see their big building along I-4. The credit union was $78 million on the Navy base when I came in 1984. And today it's over a $2 billion institution with 35 branches and covers 5 counties. I joined the Rotary Club in downtown Orlando in 1984. It was a little bit smaller than the one I had belonged to. The Rotary Club of Madison, Wisconsin had over 400 members. So that was a change to have a club that was half the size. I got involved quickly, and by 1993, I was president of the club, and it was a tremendous experience. Many of you might know that Dorsa McGuire, who traveled with her friend and partner, Glenda Hood, who was the mayor at the time, they were in Santa Barbara, California. They came back and talked about the Chalk Art Festival. And I had an opportunity to work with them. And the next year, we sponsored the first Florida Chalk Art Festival. It was a Rotary annual event for many years, raised a lot of money for the community. Another quick aside, when I started as president of the Rotary Club of Orlando, a lot of bad things were hitting the news. Every time you picked up the newspaper, listened to the radio, or saw TV, you heard about bad things, and there were so many good things happening. So I started Happy Dollars. Initially, it didn't go very well, but within a few weeks, we start hearing a lot of good things from people. And today, there are thousands of Rotary clubs around the world that are using Happy Dollars as part of their fundraising opportunity. I certainly extend my best wishes to the Rotarians of the Rotary Club of Orlando for continued success. Happy anniversary, and all the best to you.
I want to say this, Ed, we owe you a great debt. You just were a great president, but he was also governor in 1999, 2000. But when Ed started Happy Dollars, he would take the microphone and walk around the room with the podium. But I still remember to this day, a couple of the old timers thought that was really the wrong, president should never leave the podium. Never. He got a lot of flack for that. But you know, Ed, we got to thank you, because in a big club like this, it's hard to get to know people. And people tend to sit at the same tables. And I'll go into this in a little while with Dorsa, but because of Happy Dollars, we've gotten to know a lot about people's lives and their personalities, and had a lot of good information, as well as hardships people are going through. And it's a great way for club building, and we owe you a great debt for that. He's also a very modest man, Ed, about Fairwinds. You know, Fairwinds, he really cranked that up from the Navy Credit Union. It's got 37 branches all over Central Florida. All I have to do, if you want a loan, I did this myself a couple of weeks ago. I mentioned Ed's name, and they know who he is. They still know who Ed Baranowski is, and Fairwinds is a great institution and a great credit union. You deserve a lot of credit for what you've accomplished. Thank you, Ed, very much.
Thank you.
And the Street Painting Festival, I must say, through the years, and Doris will probably mention this too, of course, Ed was instrumental in making that a success. Doris, I'm going to call on you at this point, if you will. Doris McGuire was our president, but she was in the first class of females, of women to join Rotary. You seem to have some feedback on the sound. Yeah. She was one of 9, along with Mary Ann Dean. And Mary Ann's obviously still active in our club. Dorsa, you also recognize that we tended to sit at the same tables, and a lot of people didn't get to know each other. What was your first solution to that?
Thanks so much, George. I just first of all wanted to say greetings from the beautiful mountains of Western North Carolina. It's an honor to be with you today, and I have to say that being a Rotarian and being a member of the Rotary Club of Orlando is one of the greatest blessings of my life. So it's funny that you asked me that question. When I look back, perhaps it wasn't the wisest decision I ever made as the first female president to change the room around and move all the furniture. But yes, we noticed that everybody seemed to sit in the exact same place, and we thought it might be fun if we moved the furniture around and made some table assignments. And the first day, I remember I was very frightened, but my dear, dear friend, Kurt Stanton, he walked in and walked over to his normal table, or where his normal table used to be, and just started to laugh in that great, glorious laugh he had, and said, "Leave it to a woman to change the furniture around." And after that, it worked out very well, and people did move around the room and get to know one another.
I remember you had table numbers. As we walked in the door, you were given a number, and that was the table you were to sit at. And I remember Joe Guernsey and Kurt Stanton and a few others always sat at the same table, and they said, "This is table 11." They sat where they always did. Yeah, good memories there. Dorsa, I really remember one of the first things you did was said, we need a community project of some kind. And Ed Baranowski made reference to the Street Painting Festival. Tell us a little bit about how that got started and what the first year or two were like.
I'd love to. That's also a great memory, because at the time, believe it or not, Orlando was going through a bit of a rejuvenation. And the mayor at the time, Glenda Hood, really thought that having a signature event that brought people downtown would be something that would help the community. So she and I put our heads together, and with the great leadership of Ed Baranowski and you and a number of other people, we got together and started the very first one. We had a lot of children and school kids involved, and we basically took over the sidewalks and brought color, and we gave out little prizes for the winners. And after that, it became a great family event that everyone looked forward to.
The Street Painting Festival, one of the things I remember vividly about it was that one year we had 90 of our members participating in one way or another, 90 of us, which was, it's hard to get that kind of participation in anything these days, but that was really great. And Dorsa, I don't know if you know it, but the Street Painting Festival went on for 14 years, involving a lot of people in the community over the years. And it raised over $136,000 for youth and local charities. And we owe you and Ed Baranowski, who for years have worked so hard on that. We really appreciate what both of you did for that.
It was my great pleasure. It really was.
You know, we've talked about some of the things of history in our club, and we can't cover everything, but there's a few highlights I'd like to bring to your attention that we didn't mention. Charles Andrews, one of our members who joined the club in 1921, went on to be a United States Senator. As far as I know, he's one of the few senators we've had from Central Florida who happened to be a Rotarian. Gene Minietta, who was our club president and district governor, was chair of the host committee for the Rotary International Convention when it came to Orlando in 1992. That's quite an honor. It usually goes to past directors or people who are on their way up to becoming Rotary International president. So
George,
it was quite an honor. Yes.
George,
Yes.
forgive me for interrupting, but you mentioned Gene. I had the pleasure of working with Gene when I was working at the Convention and Visitor Bureau. And as we were looking for historical information for today's meeting, on the back of the board to which our charter is laminated, lo and behold, scotch taped to the back is a resolution number 2277 from the Florida House of Representatives welcoming Rotary International to Orlando in 1992. So we actually have that document, and we will make sure that it is placed in safer keeping than it is right now.
Excellent.
So I'm sorry to interrupt, but it was a timely time to mention that.
Well, I will say this, in effect, the Orlando Club participated. We had a lot of committee chairmen on that host committee, subcommittees, and Dorsa and others were heavily involved in making sure that came across, because we had close to 20,000 Rotarians come from all over the world here to Orlando. And it was on short notice because we, as I recall, were kind of a replacement for another location. So it was really pulled together nicely. Some other things I think everyone ought to celebrate is we've sponsored 14 clubs in our district. As Cindy noted, her club was one of them. Donations to the Rotary Foundation, oh my goodness, over $630,000 through the years. We've had 14 matching grants and contributed to 6 matching global grants that total $1.1 million with over 15,000. And here's the important part, not the money so much, over 15,000 people were served in 15 countries. You know, these are things where the water is impure, where there's need for literacy, where there's need for care for mothers and children, education, all these things, wells for fresh water. There's a number of things, solar ovens, my goodness, a lot of things were benefiting the people who are disadvantaged. We've had 32 district grants right in our own area, totaling $58,000 or $68,000, which has gone again for local literacy programs and other youth programs in the area. With Friends, under the leadership of John Stein, our club has participated in the construction of over 21, maybe it's 22 now, classrooms in Kenya. And when we talk about literacy being a major emphasis in Rotary, this club has stepped up thanks to John's leadership, and we've built classrooms valued at over $152,000 and more on the way. This is an ongoing project. We should all be proud of it. I might also add that the Happy Dollars that Ed Baranowski so wonderfully brought to our club, in spite of the flack he might have gotten the first week or two doing it, has raised well over $30,000, again, for local charitable programs and scholarships. Ongoing literacy programs our club should be proud of. We are working with Title I schools and giving annual scholarships out to these students. Ivy Lane School Food Pantry, book fairs that we've done, the Horsetails project that lets kids get out and see a little more of the world and expand their horizons, let them know they're cared for. These are just some of the many things this club has done recently. You know, in the first 75 years, it was mostly a club assembled of great leaders in the community. The club itself didn't do all that much. And as time evolved, it's the club members that are doing a lot of the things now, the projects, and we're all pitching in. And I think this is where the strength of the future of the club is. It's going to be us pitching in, service above self, individually, in our communities, and through Rotary. So Bill, we thank you for this opportunity to tell some of the history of our club today.
George, thanks to you, John, Joe, Darsa. We really appreciate the insight. There's an email here on the chat says it's awesome to learn all the amazing history of the club. And indeed it is. We sometimes lose sight of everything we've done. But, you know, if we look at what we're doing today, you know, we're working to create scholarships for students to go to Valencia College. We're working to create a scholarship program with a partnership with 100 Black Men. George mentioned the food pantry. Right now, we're in conversation with Sam Danner over at Ivy Lane to see how we might help that school as they face some significant food challenges in July and August when the kids aren't in school. And Dick Harris is leading that effort. And by the way, not only is he leading that effort, he is putting together an overall group to help build a strategic plan so that the importance and the activities of this club continue to follow the tradition of the past 100 years. It is almost 1 o'clock, and I'll take a quick call for anybody who might have a comment or two to add to the conversation. I do want to be respectful of everybody's time and not go too far beyond 1 o'clock. But I see Tom Tart has a.
Mr. President, this has been wonderful. I love history, and seeing Ed and Dorsa brought back some great moments. And I've never been to Mars, but I'm glad to see George Husband's up in space today. But I saw for the first time since we've gone Zoom, Leon Hanley on here. He was here when the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth Rock and when the DeSoto landed at Tampa Bay. I'd like to call on Leon, who's one of our oldest members, whose body has worn out 2 heads, if he would say a word or two.
Leon? Well, Leon is working to get online. You know, when I came to the club and Leon was doing Happy Dollars, it was always a toss-up to figure out whether Tom Tart or Leon Hanley was worth the price of admission, because it was always a great time. I'd love to hear from Leon. There he is.
How do you do it? How do you get on?
All right, Leon.
Yeah. How do you get on?
You are on.
I am on. Oh,
you're on.
Oh, that's right. I can't see me. I can't. I'm looking at Tom Tart now. All right. Did you lose me?
No, we have you. We hope you're well.
Oh, I'm fine. I haven't shaved in a month. I've been locked down over here at the old folks home. Well, I remember so many of the things that y'all are talking about, and that was a wonderful survey. And Dorsa is so good to see her again. I remember when she moved the furniture, and I had a friend who, because of some problems, he went blind. And he said every time his wife got mad at him, she'd rearrange the furniture. and Dorsa, first thing she did was rearrange the furniture. God bless her. And I'm so glad she's doing well. She looks beautiful. And it's wonderful. It's not, we're not supposed to comment on the lady's appearance, but why else do they have appearances? So you guys are just doing a super job of keeping the light burning brightly during this time of torture. And Lord, cutting us off, us alpha personalities, from communicating and being in the presence of our friends is cruel and unusual punishment. It's unconstitutional. but our club has been a wonderful club. Tom Tart, I remember our senior partner, Tom Gurney, telling me one time that he had been proposed for membership in the Rotary Club for 25 years before he got in. Bill Lawrence would propose him every year, and every year the lawyers who were members would say, no, we've got enough lawyers, no more lawyers. And that was an interesting time. He brought me in as a fellow member in the firm, and since then we've gone to hell in a hand satchel, and Tom Tart has become a member. He came to Florida from Valdosta to play football, and unfortunately tore his knee up and was not able to participate except in recruiting. And he would go with the recruiting coaches, and they honored his scholarship. And here he is today, and we're proud of him. But we have had such a wonderful cadre of people through the years. Bill McCree, W.A. McCree Jr., who built the house I lived in for 38 years, he and his dad, was in the Army all during the war. When he came back, he became a Rotarian and stayed one the rest of his life. He wrote the book, The First 75 Years. He called it The Last 75 Years. I said, no, Bill, it's the first 75 years, not the last 75 years. Of course, it was both. And now Gilbert, his younger brother, has carried on and done a lot of research. And soon that will be published, I know.
Leon,
yes.
we're just about running out of time, and there are a couple other things we need to take care of.
Well,
but
I'm going.
Thank you for being with us, and stay in such good health. I'm going to call on Denny Career, then Rich Ungaro, and then, as I said, in deference to everyone's time, we'll wrap up our meeting. Denny, go ahead, please.
Marty Kramer's online, and everybody in our club really owes a debt to Marty. Marty was the person who brought Gift of Life to Central Florida. Gift of Life is one of the best things we do in Rotary. We've saved the lives of 7 children who would have died otherwise because of Marty's efforts. And 4 of those children were completely paid for by our club. We've got a 12-member committee. 8 members of that committee are in our Rotary Club. Thank you, Marty. You did a wonderful thing for humanity and for our club.
Thank you, Marty. Rich?
Thank you,
Rich
Debbie.
Ungaro.
If I could just say something real quick. Gift of Life just did the 37,000th child. They did 37,000 surgeries and saved those lives of children around the world. Thank you very much.
Wow, great.
Well,
Rich Ungaro.
just a couple things. First of all, to the visitors that are visiting, thank you for taking the time. And we have a lot of past members that are on today that I see. And I want you to know, while we're virtual, our meetings are normally Thursday at noon. You are more than welcome to join us while we're virtual. It is easy, even if you're not in the United States, Marty, you can still join us every Thursday at noon. And Bill, you might want to say something about the 100-year gala and the 100-year book.
Well put, yeah. Let me do this before. I'm not sure she's still on the call with us, but Felicia Edwards was on the call. You may remember Felicia was the wife of Pastor Sir Governor Pete Edwards. And if you're with us, Felicia, we're delighted that you took time to be with us. Regarding the book, Jim Stowers and his committee have put in incredible amount of time and energy to prepare the last 25 years of history of the club. And we will have that book available really before the gala, but it will be distributing it at the gala. And the gala, as you know, was canceled. It is now set for September 12 at the Rotary Club, at the Country Club of Orlando. Good Lord willing, we're out of this pandemic enough that it will be safe for us to come together and personally celebrate our time together. With that, I want to thank our district governor, Cindy, for being with us and taking time. And I thank the district for allowing us to use their Zoom account, which allowed us to have a greater number of people on the call with us. Let's see. I think that's it. Let us join together in reciting the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? And with that, let me bid you farewell. Be well, be safe, and be a Rotarian. Bye now.